Football is back. Here we are for the 2025 NFL season. What I'm going to do is, like last year, I'm going to do my weekly prediction videos. I stopped at around week 14 last year, I think. I just kind of stopped caring, and more so because my Raiders were doing so bad. But I'm going to do my best to follow through this year. I think it's going to be fun. I'm going to do a different format instead of like the wide shots of me and just the screenshots cropped out in the corner of the video. We're going to do me in the corner and the full video, that being my screen recording on my laptop. So let's get this out of the way. I'm excited that football's back. Let's start up with the first game, that being the Dallas Cowboys taking on the Philadelphia Eagles for the season opener. I am choosing the Eagles mainly because the Eagles are still very strong and they're going to be able to tear apart the Dallas defense without Micah Parsons, as they traded him away a few days ago. I thought that was really funny. And it's the same thing. The Cowboys always do good in the regular season, and they just find a way to crap the bed in the playoffs, and I think that's really funny. But the Eagles are more or less the same team. They lost a few weapons here and there, but they still got hurt, and they still have Saquon. And as long as they have those three, and as long as they have all the receivers that they had last year, they're still going to be a very dominant team, and they might have a chance to go to the Super Bowl yet again. So, very quickly, I got the Eagles taking this game. Then we move on to our Brazil game on Friday, that being the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Los Angeles Chargers. I got the Chiefs with this mainly because they have their magical bullshit aura of just miraculous bullshit. And these are two very solid teams. The Chiefs didn't look as hot as they have in the past, but they're still able to win when they can. And the Chargers were a very surprising team last year with Jim Harbaugh coming in. Although I don't like the system for Justin Herbert. I want Justin Herbert to sling the ball. The dude's a gunslinger, but he's not allowed to in the system. And it just makes me a little worried for Herbert that he's not letting his full potential come out. But other than that, I don't have a whole lot to say on this. I'm not going to have a whole lot to say on all these games for week one just because we don't know yet. We'll have to wait for week one to happen to see how these teams really look going at full speed. So, just because the Chiefs are the more well-rounded team, I'm going with the Chiefs on this. Then we move on to our Sunday games. We got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the Atlanta Falcons. I got the Bucs here. Mainly because they're the more well-rounded team. They got the better quarterback. And they just have the better, well-constructed team. The Falcons have Michael Penix Jr. He's had a few flashes last year of talent, but I don't think it's going to be enough to overcome the reigning NFC South champs, that being the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Baker. Baker is like one of the newest darlings in the NFL right now, because ever since he decimated the Raiders Thursday Night Football back in 2022, the Bucs gave him a chance next season, and they've won 2 straight division titles in a row. And Baker is just able to produce so well. I really love Baker, and I love that he's able to produce so well. But can they win more playoff games? Can they make the NFC Championship this season? We'll have to wait and see. But for now, I got the Bucs taking week one just because they're the more well-rounded team. And Baker has way more experience than Michael Penix. And yeah, this is going to be a pretty interesting match, but I got the Bucs taking this pretty handily. Then we got, I think is going to be a very funny game, the Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Cleveland Browns. The Bengals were sort of a mess last year with Joe Burrow doing his absolute best to win games. And they had a slow start, but they did their best to come back. But eventually they missed the playoffs, and their defense is awful. And then we got the Browns, on the other hand, who don't have Nick Chubb. Their quarterback situation is a mess. They drafted Shedeur Sanders, and I forget who the other quarterback they drafted was. They had Kenny Pickett. They released him, or they traded him to the Raiders. And they have Joe Flacco. And Deshaun Watson, that whole mess is still there. And they're never going to get rid of him until his contract's done, and then they're going to boot him out. But they're never going to get rid of him, and that's really funny. But Joe Flacco is starting week one. Joe Flacco had the Browns mania thing going on a few years ago where their quarterback situation was all shit, but Joe Flacco came in and was able to lead them to the playoffs, and they eventually lost against the Texans that year in the wild card. But just because the Browns' offense is such a mess, I got the Bengals taking this just because Joe Burrow and his receiving weapons are just a threat and a force to be reckoned with. And just because the Browns are a mess and they're going to be one of the worst teams this year in football. Then we got what I think might be actually the funniest game this week. The Miami Dolphins taking on the Indianapolis Colts. The Dolphins, they're a very troubling team because I think everyone's on a hot seat right now. Mike McDaniels and Tua Tagovailoa. Tua is a great quarterback, but he's very injury prone and he keeps getting concussions. And without Tua, this team is god awful. And they somehow have Tyreek Hill still, but I honestly think that if they lose this game to the Colts, led by Daniel Jones, then Mike McDaniels might be out of here within the first 5 weeks of the season because time and time again, they look fun as hell, but they just can't get it done. They can't win a playoff game, and it's sad because I really want to see this Dolphins team succeed just because they were so fun and electric to watch these past few years. But without Tua, they're a mess. I honestly think this might be the last year for Tua and Mike McDaniels if they can't get it together. The Colts, on the other hand, are just a mess all around. They have a pretty solid team, but it's the quarterback situation that's a mess. Anthony Richardson lost a starting job to Daniel Jones, who came from the New York Giants. And if you know anything about anything, you know that Daniel Jones isn't that great of a quarterback. And if you lost your position to Daniel Jones of all quarterbacks, then something's wrong. Anthony Richardson has an immense talent, but he just overthrows, underthrows. He can launch the ball really deep, but I don't know what's going on with him. He might be a bust, and I hate to say that. I hate to say players are a bust and whatnot. I want to see players succeed, but I don't know. He's got to get it together. Maybe being benched for Daniel Jones is the right call. Give him a few weeks, and if Daniel Jones doesn't do good, Anthony Richardson could come in and look far better, hopefully. I got the Dolphins taking this. I really wanted to choose the Colts because it would be really funny if somehow Daniel Jones just decimated the Dolphins. But because I'm realistic, I'm getting the Dolphins on this. Hopefully the Dolphins can turn this all around. Maybe win at least one playoff game to save everyone's jobs. But for the start of the season, I got them beating the Colts in what I think is going to be a pretty close game. I don't know. Then we got my Las Vegas Raiders taking on the New England Patriots. The Raiders had a very interesting offseason. They brought in Pete Carroll, who didn't coach last season, who then brought in Geno Smith to be our starting quarterback. Tom Brady is our co-owner now. We drafted Ashton Genty, who looks like a beast. And anytime I see clips of Pete Carroll just fooling around with the team, I'm like, okay, this is a brand new identity, and I think I might have hope. Not the same hope I've had before. This hope is a little different. Like, we have a successful head coach, finally. And that's not to say that John Gruden wasn't a successful head coach before. The dude won a Super Bowl. But there's a reason we gave him 10 years. It was going to take a while to get that train going. And Josh McDaniels, was our head coach from 2022 and partially 2023. We got rid of him. He didn't do anything last season. Then he went back to the New England Patriots because anytime he fails as a head coach, he just runs back to the New England Patriots as their OC. So this is a revenge game for us. We're going to hopefully beat the shit out of the troubled Patriots. Drake May is their quarterback. He's shown flashes of talent, but hopefully our defense with Max Crosby is going to be too much and too overwhelming for them. Hopefully we take this win very, very handedly. I got the Raiders winning this. No doubt about it. And for some reason, it looks like we are in the minority. It looks like it's 54-46. So let's prove everyone wrong here. Please, for the love of God. I just want to win to start the season off. Then we got the Arizona Cardinals taking on the New Orleans Saints. The Cardinals aren't that interesting of a team to me. When was the last time they were relevant? When they started the season 11-0 a few years ago. Ever since then, they just haven't been all too exciting to watch. This might be Kyler Murray's last hurrah, just because what's going on? Come on, this dude has insane talent, and what's happened since that 11-0 start? Not much, really. I don't know. Nothing about the Cardinals excite me. I really don't know anything about them at the moment. What I do know, though, is that the Saints are an absolute mess. They're looked as the worst team in the NFL right now. And I'm going to be honest, I think they might go 0-17 just because of how much of a mess they are. Derek Carr surprisingly retired in the offseason. I was very sad and upset about that. And their quarterback situation is rough. They drafted Tyler Shuck. I believe they still have Jake Hayner, and Spencer Rattler is their starting quarterback. And if you watch last season, you could tell that Spencer Rattler can only produce one good half of quarterback play per game. And what half that may be, we're not sure. First or second half, we're not sure. But he can only produce that one half at a time. And they couldn't win a single game without Derek Carr starting at quarterback last season. And that was very sad to see, but sort of amusing to me because Saints fans were so pissed that they got Carr. Saints fans are so happy that Carr's not there anymore. But let's see how happy they are when their team is just completely awful this season. And you're going to wish you had a quarterback like Carr back. Hell, I wish Carr was still there, but he had to think about whether or not he had to go through surgery, if he could still play football 100% after the surgery, and he most likely would have to take off the entirety of the season. He just thought it would be best to retire, to spend the time with his family, to not potentially ruin his body. And the Saints are just a mess right now. They're not in the cap space hell anymore, which is good. And they've had an identity issue since Drew Brees left. They've had a few good spots with Jameis Winston and Andy Dalton here and there. I kind of wish they stuck with Jameis Winston or hell, even Taysom Hill. But you know what? Injuries just fucked this team up last season, and they didn't look good. But if Spencer Rattler gets the injury excuse, I think Derek Carr should have got the injury excuse too. Sorry, I'm making this a little too much more than the current game at the moment, but I just get these little spits about everyone shitting on Derek Carr. I don't give a shit anymore. Cardinals are taking this game pretty easily. I really don't think the Saints are going to do much this game offense-wise. And who knows, Kellen Moore was a pretty interesting play caller, but when the team was injured, it all went to shit. I'm going to make a very bold prediction right now. Alvin Kamara is going to be traded before the trade deadline this season. He spent 9 years with the Saints, and he's given his all, but it's led to jack shit. One NFC Championship appearance. Really, with Alvin Kamara as your running back, arguably one of the best running backs. Although he's never had a 1,000-yard rushing season, the dude's still a beast. The dude can still produce. And if you can't make it far with Alvin Kamara, then you're just wasting someone's talent away. Cardinals are winning this game pretty easily. Then we got, I think, might be the most hyped game of Week 1, although I think it's just going to be pretty whatever. We got the Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the New York Jets. It's the return of Aaron Rodgers. He played for the Jets, tore his Achilles in the first series back in 2023. Then 2024 happened. He didn't look so hot in the beginning. He had some good moments here and there. Then the Jets traded him to the Steelers. Either they released him or they traded him. I don't remember. The Steelers got DK Metcalf. That's going to be a pretty good weapon for Rodgers. But I honestly think this is the last season for Rodgers. I think he said it multiple times. This might be his last hurrah. But also, come on. We know what's going to happen with the Steelers. They're going to bullshit their way to a 9-8 season, get a wild card spot, and get decimated by whatever team they play in the wild card. And they're going to get carried by elite defense, and they're just going to be a mediocre offense. I don't know. I really hope that's not the case. You know what? I want Aaron Rodgers to do good. I just don't want it to be for the Steelers because we all know it's just going to play into the Steelers bullshit that happens every season. Now let's talk about the Jets for a second. Another team that's a mess. Aaron Rodgers, everyone likes to poke fun at him and say that he ruined the Jets. That might be true. We're not sure. But the Jets are in their own kind of mess. They got talent here and there. They have a good defense. But it's that quarterback play that's always been the bugaboo for them. Really, when was the last time they had a good quarterback? I really don't know. Mark Sanchez? When was the last time they had a consistent quarterback play like that? Justin Fields is playing for the Jets now. And he played for the Steelers last season. He was pretty productive and before Russell Wilson came in. I've always liked Justin Fields. He had talent, but it just sucked that he was on the Bears. But I think that the Steelers are going to be the more dominant team with their elite defense, with TJ Watt. And Aaron Rodgers, I think, will do just enough to win this game pretty handily against the Jets. Now let's move on to the New York Giants versus the Washington Commanders. I got the Commanders winning this game. Giants suck. Next, we got the Carolina Panthers against the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm kidding. Let's talk about the Commanders and Giants for a bit. The Giants don't have Daniel Jones anymore. That contract extension fucked over Saquon. He went over to the Eagles and won a Super Bowl with them. And without Daniel Jones, their quarterback is now Russell Wilson. I believe he's starting. But there's also Jackson Dart, who they drafted. We'll see what happens with Russell Wilson. He might get benched later on in the season, and Jackson Dart might come in and just be in the mess that is the New York Giants. They haven't been good since Eli Manning. They had that one playoff win that 2020, 2021, 2020 season. I can't remember when it was. It was so long ago. But they really haven't done shit since. The Commanders, on the other hand, are a very fun and exciting team. They were very much a surprise last season with Jaden Daniels taking them to the NFC Championship. They knocked the 1 seed out in the divisional round last year against the Lions. So I was like, damn, this team is pretty legit. And they were just really fun to watch last season. And I don't know. They got a really old team, but come on. The Giants suck. No one likes the Giants. I don't even think Giants fans like the Giants. Commanders are winning this pretty handily. And if they lose, that'll be very sad. Okay, the Panthers against the Jaguars. Two very similar teams with quarterbacks that should be more productive than they are. These two teams are a mess. The Jags really haven't done anything that wasn't beating the Chargers in that one playoff game a few years ago. I really don't know what to say about these teams except just that they're both kind of a mess right now. Trevor Lawrence should be more productive than he is. I really want him to do good. I'm not saying this is his last chance, but time's running out for him. He's been in the league for 3-4 seasons at this point? I'm not sure, but dude needs to start producing a lot more. That's funny for me to say because I just don't know. I don't know how to gauge these damn teams right now just because it's week 1. But just based on the past few years of watching, Trevor Lawrence was like, oh my God, he hasn't lost a single game from high school to college. Oh my God. And then he just got drafted into a shitty situation with the Jaguars. And I just want him to do so damn well. I really do. And he's in that awful division that is the AFC South that the Texans are going to win because they're the best team in that division and everyone else just sucks. But for the sake of this game, I got the Panthers winning just because I like Bryce Young. After that benching last season when he came back, he looked a whole lot better. And rookies just can't come in and just start producing like they've been in the league for 10 years. I know that's the way the league expects players to start out right now, but players need time to develop, especially if they're drafted into shitty teams. And hopefully with the addition of Hunter Renfrow and the other talent that is on the Panthers, hopefully Bryce Young can start producing a lot more and maybe make some noise in the NFC South. So for now, I got the Panthers winning week 1. And this might be a pretty close and ugly game. Next, we got the Tennessee Titans taking on the Denver Broncos. The Titans were a mess last year with Mean Machine as their quarterback, Will Levis. The Broncos were a very solid team last year with a strong defense and a very surprising outing from Bo Nix. Although they lost their playoff game against the Bills, 31-7? And the Titans have Cam Ward as their new quarterback. I don't watch college, so I really don't know how to gauge rookies all too much. But There's a lot of hype around Cam Ward. It just kind of sucks that his first game is going to be against a strong defense that is in the Denver Broncos. So I got the Broncos winning this. Nothing else about the Titans really excite me all too much. The Broncos are a solid team. I hate to say it because I'm a Bronco hater, but whatever. Next, we got, I think, what might be the best game of the week, either the best or the second best game of the week. The San Francisco 49ers taking on the Seattle Seahawks. These games are always competitive. The NFC West games are always competitive, no matter what, really. Because that team is just, not the team, the division is just cutthroat. So the Niners were awful last year because of all the injuries that happened. They couldn't stay healthy, and Brock Purdy was the shining factor in that team last season. With all the injuries around him, I thought, okay, he's not going to produce well because he is a Kyle Shanahan and talent merchant, but he was still able to produce with everyone was just shit luck last season with injuries. So I'm on the Brock Purdy hype train now, just because he was able to produce with everyone on the IR last season. And the Seahawks, on the other hand, they don't have Geno Smith, but they do have Sam Darnold, who was able to produce a lot with the Vikings last season. But I'm giving this win to the Niners because Sam Darnold is just coming into the Seahawks. They have Cooper Kupp, right? Yeah, they have Cooper Kupp. That'll be a fun thing to watch between a veteran quarterback and somewhat veteran-ish Cooper Kupp. That'll be fun to watch, I think. But against a healthy team in the Niners, hopefully, let's keep it that way. Well, just for week one, because, Niner hater, of course. I got the Niners winning this week one just because I've seen them. At the best, the Niners are arguably one of the best teams in the league. And hopefully Brock Purdy can just produce. Because I'm rooting for him now. I'm a Brock Purdy hype train guy now, just because how much he was able to produce with the shit team last season, with everyone injury prone. And the Seahawks, I don't know. They're not exciting outside of these divisional games. Especially without Geno Smith, who was their savior for the past few seasons. Oh my God, Geno Smith came out of nowhere, was able to produce so well. He won Comeback Player of the Year when he came to the Seahawks. Or when he started for the Seahawks, at least. Yeah, that's what I got. Niners taking this game. Then we got, another great, one of the best games of the week. The Detroit Lions taking on the Green Bay Packers. I got the Lions winning this just because they're the more fun and well-structured team. Although the Packers do have Micah Parsons. We'll have to see how this offense is able to get around Micah Parsons. Arguably one of the most electric and just best defensive weapons in the game right now. The Packers aren't all too exciting to me. They're definitely a good team, but I'm just waiting for Jordan Love to become the generational, amazing Packers quarterback, just like his predecessors in Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre. But he is in his sixth season, and Rodgers and Favre won their Super Bowl with the Packers in their sixth season. So let's see what happens with Jordan Love this year. I definitely like him. He's definitely fun to watch, but he makes a few too many mistakes in prime moments. That makes me think, okay, he's not the threat that is Aaron Rodgers and Favre before him. The Lions, on the other hand, are just a very fun team to watch. They got Hutchinson back. Hopefully he's back to 100. Jared Goff and just everyone else in that team. They're just a very fun, explosive, imaginative, electric team to watch. And hopefully without Ben Johnson there, hopefully they're able to produce as efficiently as before. But still, I got the Lions taking this because they've just had the Packers' numbers the past few seasons. Then we got the Texans taking on the Rams. I almost chose the Texans for this for one reason, because of Matthew Stafford and his health. If Matthew Stafford can stay healthy, then the Rams got this. And I think he will, at least for week one. He's got Devontae Adams, and that's a great replacement for losing Cooper Kupp. And the Rams are just a cutthroat team. They will play to the very last game, hopefully getting into a playoff spot. And they did last season, so that was very fun to watch for them. The Texans, on the other hand, had a sophomore slump with C.J. Stroud last season, but they still won their division because the division is garbage. We'll see how C.J. Stroud plays this season after his sophomore slump. Hopefully he's getting it back together again. But for the sake of having a more well-structured team in week 1, I got the Rams winning this. Because if he goes down, if Stafford goes down, they have to rely on Jimmy Garoppolo. And we know the beef between Garoppolo and Adams. Not really beef, more so just frustration. And more so because Josh McDaniels was an awful coach. But if you've seen the receiver show, you've probably seen the clips of Adams getting pissed off with Jimmy Garoppolo's throws. All right, next we got Sunday Night Football with the Baltimore Ravens taking on the Buffalo Bills in the AFC divisional rematch that was from last season. And it was all decided from the Mark Andrews drop. And I hate that people were giving death threats to Mark Andrews, and Bills fans donated to his charity because Bills fans are awesome. But yeah, people just take this way too seriously because remember, it's just a game. It's just entertainment at the end of the day. But the Ravens are arguably one of the best teams in the NFL. They're just so fun and electric to watch, and Lamar Jackson is arguably top 3 quarterbacks in the NFL right now. People say he should have won MVP last season. I still think Saquon should have won MVP last season. And I honestly think the winner of this game is going to the Super Bowl this season, because I honestly think the Chiefs are going to not even make the AFC Championship this season. Let's hope that's the case. But for the sake of week 1, the Ravens have been the more fun, electric team to watch. Josh Allen for the Bills, he's been so proficient. Hopefully they can get over the hump this season that is beating Mahomes in the playoffs, if that is the case. But for now, just because the Ravens are more fun to watch, I got the Ravens taking this. Then we got Monday Night Football. The Vikings taking on the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears started off pretty strong last year, I think 4-2. Then they lost the game to the Commanders and just shit the bed for the rest of the season, only winning 1 game for the rest of the season. And I made a tweet saying that they only win 2 games for the rest of the season. They proved me wrong by only winning 1 game the rest of the season, and I thought that was very funny. The Vikings, on the other hand, had a pretty strong season last year with Sam Darnold making a resurgence. Everyone was very surprised by that because J.J. McCarthy got an injury last season, even before week 1. So that was very surprising. And J.J. McCarthy is coming back. Coming back. He's making his first NFL start in his 2nd season in the NFL. Just because the Vikings have all that talent around them, I got the Vikings taking this game because the Bears, it was just very funny to see them collapse last year. Although J.J. McCarthy is making his first NFL start, we'll have to see how he does in his first NFL start, in his first NFL game. We'll have to see how it goes, but he has that talent that Sam Darnold had last season, so hopefully he's able to just fill in the gap right there and just be as proficient as Darnold was last season. The Bears, I don't know. There's nothing exciting about them, really. They're not fun to watch, especially during their collapse. It was very funny. What, Eberflus got fired? Yeah, I think so. Especially for that mismanaged game clock situation last season. That was very funny to watch. But I got the Vikings taking this very, very easily. This for your Monday Night Football game? Come on. And then I got the score total being 28 for Monday Night Football, because I think it'll be very funny if these teams just don't do anything at all. And that is my week 1 predictions for the 2025 NFL season. What are your picks for this week? Tell me if you thought I was wrong or if you think I'm right. I'm hoping to go 16-0 this week. I think it'll be very cool. I think I got it pretty spot on. I don't think there's going to be any surprises with this. We'll see how it goes. So, are you excited for football to be back? I am. Who do you think is going to make the Super Bowl? I think it's going to be Ravens and Eagles this season. Tell me what teams you think are going to make the Super Bowl in the comments below. And I'll be back with more NFL weekly reviews. Not reviews, I'm sorry. I'll be back with more NFL weekly predictions, as well as more movie reviews and skits, hopefully, in the future. So, yeah, that's it. Bye.